Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 156 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast, discussing what to do with your land income. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our featured Discord members. Today's question is from Jim. Jim asked, are there any areas of the country you suggest new land investors to stay away from? Really good question, Jim. Ron, you want to take this?
Yeah, good question for sure. The one area that I always tell people to stay away from is Florida, especially like middle to southern Florida because how wet it is. What I want from new land investors, people who come into our program, is to have as much deal flow, to have as much momentum after their first few mailers. I'm not saying middle central Florida is a bad area, but I see it as it can demoralize a little bit because you're going to get so many purchase agreements of wetlands, land that is just completely soaked, swampland, whatever it is. Northern Florida is not the same. It's more similar to Georgia, I think. But you want to stay away from areas that are whatever 70% wetlands, stuff like that. Severely sloped areas. I tell people counties that are like 90% mountains or something like that. I tell people to kind of stay away from. We want to get the best yield from those first couple mailers, and selecting counties that have solid land, staying away from 90% farmland is what I kind of push people to. So I think those three things, Dan: slope, farmland, wet stuff.
So just pull up your Zillow or whatever you're using and hit satellite, and you can kind of gauge, okay, if it's all farmland, you'll be able to see that from the satellite. If it's all mountains, you'll be able to see that. That's a good starting point, actually, Ron. I like that a lot. Well, let's get into the show. What to do with your land income. First, land investing, what we do, just a quick intro. We buy properties under market value through direct mail, typically, or texting, but typically direct blind offers, direct mail with an offer letter on them. And we buy it and we sell it for more. That's what we do. So what happens is you send out this mail. It has a great ROI. You get a property for 50,000, sell it for $100,000 on the back end, and you make $50,000. If you're deal funding and if you need funding for it, maybe you'll make, let's say, $35,000 if you sell it quick. So you make that $35,000. Now you reinvest it in mail, and maybe you get a land back for $10,000. Maybe now you can invest $10,000 from that 35,000 to put in. So you invest $10,000 into your own property, and now you got 25,000. You can make 15 more thousand. Now all of a sudden you have $50,000, and it keeps going like that, and you keep building it up, and your bank goes from $5,000, and it gets really, really big if you do this right and consistently, Ron. So then the cycle is, what do you do with that money? You start paying for your own deals, and there's other thing to do with that as well. You can start deal funding and go from there. But that's kind of the cycle of how it works. You start small, reinvest in mail, get a low profit, reinvest in mail, maybe reinvest in your property, use deal funding, grow, grow, grow. That's how it works. And that's what I wanted to talk about first, Ron.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like you can go from having $7,000 in your bank to having $100,000 in your bank in this business relatively fast compared to any other really entrepreneur ventures that I have seen. This can happen pretty fast. Like I said, like it can be you're on your first, second, third deal, whatever it is, and then you all of a sudden have $100,000 and you're looking what to do with it. Um, so yeah, like Daniel said, starting to pay for some of your deals, pick and choose. If you just started with not a lot of money and you have a good amount of money now, picking and choosing those $20,000 deals that you can sell for 50,000, funding those yourself so you can take 100% of profit is a very valuable thing. You can also start to partner with some people in the community to be more of a hands-off investor. I would probably make sure you have six figures or so in the bank and keep $50,000 for your own stuff. So you do, when you do get that $30,000 deal that's worth $80,000, whatever it is, you can pay for that. Like you want to keep money for your deals if you're in that position where you're funding other people's deals. So don't over leverage yourself with other people's deals. But at the same time, being a hands off investor is extremely scalable.
And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about as well, is because now you know this is working, right? So let's invest everything into what's working. So take your money, plow it back into what's working first. Because we're going to talk about some other things, what to do with your land income. I'm going to get off of land eventually in this topic, Ron. But for now, like when you know something's working, when your business is working, you want to invest as much as possible back into that business to get the most
Yep.
ROI. You know what I mean? It's like reading that Phil Knight book in Shoe Dog, Ron. He was selling so many Nike shoes. He knew as much inventory he can buy, as much money as the banks will give him, he was able to get rid of that very, very fast. So he invested everything into getting more money from banks to buy more shoes because he knows he's selling those shoes because it was working. Same concept here. You bought a $50,000 property, you're selling for 110. You sold it for 110. You have, whatever, after profit split $40,000, and now you know it works. Let's buy more property. Let's get more funding. Let's do all that. And that's what you want to do first. You want to focus all your profit internally, in my mind. Don't start going and buying other, businesses or a rental property right away. Although, that's, I don't know if I agree with what I'm saying here. Maybe I would do it. But what I'm saying is you want to invest all your resources, Ron, into this business first, in my mind, until you can really, really take it off to that next level.
Yeah, and you don't like the profit margins, and there's not many places you can put your money that is more valuable than what you can do in this business. Like you're gonna learn so much, you're gonna have so much value there. Maybe you start getting cheaper deal funding, and you invest a ton of your money into just marketing, and then you just utilize cheaper deal funding that you've got from giving people good returns. So there's so many things you can do within land. Do not get too carried away, like Daniel was saying, in terms of trying what I would do personally is do not try different things within land in terms of like that. Like try to stick to what is working. Um, those type of deals, I think that's how you scale the fastest, and you can turn that $100,000 you now have in the bank to $500,000, and then we can talk about some other things you can do with that money to maybe mitigate taxes or anything like that.
Exactly. And so Ron did mention land investing passively. So investing in other people's deals, that's always an opportunity because what you're doing in that sense, Ron, you're still in the land industry too, but you're leveraging your knowledge and your resources that you've accumulated from your own business and now mitigating the risk based on your knowledge and putting it into the market, which is really, really smart to do. It's using the knowledge you learned from, the cycle of land investing, using that knowledge and then putting it into other people's deals, Ron. I think that's really, really beneficial and it's an opportunity down the road. But like Ron said, you don't want to run out of money from mail because we acquire land from sending mail and reinvesting. You do not want to get tight. You do not want to not send mail. You always want to make sure to have a cushion because mail and marketing is what run this business, Ron.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I like that. I like diversifying and having some more hands off investments because if all your deals are your deals only and you're the managing person, you need to sell all those properties yourself. Like you don't have really help with that. Like all of it's coming through you. Where if you fund other people's deals, they're the ones that are responsible for selling the properties, and you can make some whatever it is. You can make really good money. And like Daniel said, it was a good point. Daniel said not just leveraging your money, you're leveraging your money and your knowledge. New land investors who are coming into our community, whatever, looking for funding, being in those situations, they want to partner with people with knowledge and experience, as well as obviously have the money to fund their deals. Leveraging that aspect of it is extremely important.
Exactly. So now let's get off topic from land investing and go into the long-term assets because the reason you buy long-term assets are one, you diversify, right? Two, it's another source of income, and three, tax incentives. The main reason, like once you're making this kind of money and you've done the first few steps we talked about, invest in your own, invest in other people, is you're plowing in money at this point. Now you have to figure out how to mitigate your taxes. So if you're not in a W two job, you can look at things like bonus depreciation, Ron, and buying big structures, big buildings that depreciate over time, and then taking that depreciation first year. We are not accountants here. We do this for our business with our accountant and everything we do. We go over with our accountant, but this is just our rookie, I guess, knowledge that we're going to share with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to realize these all these piece of land that you're buying, like this profit, if you buy a property for $20,000 and sell it for $50,000, you have $30,000 of income. It doesn't of income that's going to be taxed. It doesn't matter if you use that 30,000 to buy another property. That $30,000, even if you spent that somewhere else on another property, that $30,000 is still profit that is going to be taxed. So figuring out a way to mitigate taxes is really important. I like syndications a lot, Daniel, for people who really start to make good money in this. Like looking for some quality syndications of real estate investors who have, I don't know, investing in mobile home parks, investing in big multifamily buildings. You can get the tax write offs. It's not going to be as significant of a tax write off as if you buy a big multifamily building or a commercial building in your own name. but you will get tax write-offs that can help with that tax bill. You are going to get a tax bill the following year on what you made in land. So thinking about that before the tax bill comes, before the year ends is, I think, important.
Yeah, syndications are great because you do still get, the depreciation if you're a full-time
It's like deal
investor.
funding outside of it's like deal funding, it's just, you don't have to
Yeah.
deal with a lot of crap.
And you can't take that $30,000 profit Ron said and put it into a $30,000 property and say, "Oh, I made $0 because I put it back in." But what you can do is buy an employee that's $5,000, $4,000,
Yep.
$5,000 a month. You can have that, and then you're at 25, and then you can buy 10,000 mailers a month, then you're at 20, and then you can buy some nice systems and processes and software and everything, and then you're at 15. So you can mitigate it through buying systems, processes, which are assets a lot of times that add to your business's value in the end, Ron. So you're putting all that income into your assets. Get good software for everyone, get a good phone service, send a lot of mail, hire and train really, really good quality employees. That's a really good way to do it. Like, employees are great tax burdens, Ron, when you start hiring and taking your profits and putting it back in to the business, Ron.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done that more than anything else. I would prefer buying, not prefer, but I would like if we had more multifamilies to zero out our taxes 100%, because that's the way to do it. But we've invested a ton into employees. It really helps with write offs. And like Daniel said, it is an investment to scale your business and to take it to the next level next year. Like employees are extremely, you start to make money. That's a good point, Dan. I don't know if you had this as a segment, just employees in general, employees, systems, processes are something you can really invest in.
Yeah, because then you start building a system and an organization that you don't need to be a part of, and you can sell for 30, 30 to 40x of what your monthly profits are if you don't need to be there. You're investing it into processes to build a sustainable long-term business that you can sell, Ron. But outside of that, like Ron said, syndications are a really good spot to put your money if you don't want to put the time and effort to buying your own. But like, you can just buy long-term assets on the market and know that they're going to appreciate a few percent every year, and you get a little bit of cash flow and get a management company and do some minor due diligence and buy. It is a little bit of work, yes, but you can mitigate it with, getting a proper management company and everything. I like to buy rental properties personally, and it is work, especially up front. But give it 2 3 months and get a good management company, and the work really mitigates itself and really kind of dissipates over time, I think, especially if you get good systems. If you're not willing to do that, that's how you get full bonus depreciation, is by buying the assets yourself. So let's say you buy a a mobile home park for let's say you buy a mobile home park for, just let's say, $500,000. Then you hire a bonus depreciation, like an audit team that goes in. They're specialists with bonus depreciation, with depreciation, and they go and they audit and figure out how much of that is actually depreciable. So they take out the land cost and then figure out how much of it's depreciable. Maybe they'll say 30% of the mobile homes, or no, maybe let's say 70% round of the mobile home. What's that? 70% of
Pretty
500.
normal. 350.
350. So then all of a sudden they're going to say $350,000 of this is depreciable. And you're a full-time investor, so you're able to capture that in the first year. So you're able to capture that $350,000 year 1 and take that 350 and write it against your income. So if you made, say, $500,000, now you're going to make 500 minus 350. So you're going to be taxed for $150,000. Talk to your CPA. There's a lot. I'm not going to get into all the weeds here. Talk to your CPAs about it, a real estate CPA specifically, or if they know, but this is a way to just completely mitigate your taxes.
And the crazy thing about that, which Daniel didn't mention, is on that $500,000 purchase, and 70% is very realistic for mobile homes for bonus depreciation write off. The thing Daniel didn't mention on that $500,000 purchase, $350,000 write off, we only put $100,000 into the deal
Or
because
zero.
that's a down payment. The bank paid the other $400,000. So on $100,000 or whatever it is, 150 if it's 20, if it's 30% down payment on that $150,000, we are getting a $350,000 write off. A long, and this is how the system is like. If you do this, like the system is so in your favor on a $500,000 asset that is going to appreciate, but the government, but the IRS looks at it as a depreciating asset, and that's where the bonus depreciation plays in. Depreciation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And to even go off further off that is, yes, you're leveraging money and you're getting more of a write off than you put in, but You don't need to put in that. It doesn't matter how much money. You don't need to put in $100,000. You can
You
go
could get other
to
people's money, yeah.
Yeah, you can go to Bob Smith and raise $100,000 from him and give him a little equity like a syndication. You can do a syndication. That's why the managers of syndications are the real ones winning, but they put a lot of time and effort into it. But they're putting in zero goose egg dollars and getting millions and millions of dollars of tax incentives, Ron. And that's where a lot of the money is in my mind. But keep things simple here. Buy a structure. Different structures depreciate in different classes, Ron. So like mobile home parks depreciate more than a single family home. Warehouses appreciate more than that. Parking lots appreciate the most, or one of the most. Golf courses appreciate the most, and it's all about the literally the depreciation assets behind that, Ron. So like if you have a nice house with beautiful countertops, beautiful cabinets, beautiful light fixtures, beautiful flooring, those are all things in the house that depreciate. What doesn't depreciate is the land that it sits on, Ron, and parts of the structure. And that's why an audit team goes in and they audit what's in that house and come up with a figure to how much you can depreciate based on that, Ron. So maybe a single family house, you might get 25% of write off. So you have $100,000 house, you can get $25,000 to offset that potentially, or $1 million, 250. And it just goes from, and then you have like a golf course, which yes, it's land, so it doesn't make too much sense, but there's so many irrigation systems and to maintain that land and the depreciating asset of that golf course, that $10 million, 9 million of it, 8 million of it, 9 million of it are completely depreciable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton to go into it. That strategy in general is a way to zero out your income, like just period. And a story like it is a way to zero out your income as you make money in land. It's something to think about. Like Daniel said, we're not tax professionals. It is something we have done. It is something we use every year to help out with the tax burden. But yeah, I think that's really good. Like you got to start thinking about it as you get those first, second, third deals. Like, yeah, you can just keep on plowing it into this, but think about other things as well. And don't ever forget about that tax bill that will be coming um, at the end of the year or beginning of the following year.
Yeah, and you need to be a full-time real estate investor to participate and talk to your accountant, like Ron said. But I don't have, and then outside of that, Ron, just real basic. We'll touch on it, just like more passive ways to invest your money, like just getting there's ways to get financial advisors and give them your money, and they'll get you a good, nice, safe return. And there's the stock market, Ron, and there's crypto and all kinds of other things like where to
Yep.
put your land income. You can get all fancy and all down there, but the first thing we want to look at is how to mitigate. We're making so much money, how to mitigate your tax. So that's why we talked mainly on that.
Yeah, I think that's the owing less is a way to make more. Owing less is a way to make more. At the end of the day, like if I make $500,000 or $1 million and I owe $0 versus owing 40%, like I'm making money by zero out of my tax bill. And then, like Daniel said, like earlier, using your knowledge base to expand your land business is extremely valuable, opposed to maybe some of those more passive. I don't even know what they're called anymore, Dan. What are like the things called when it's a bunch of stocks together? Whatever.
Going blank.
But investing in the stock market, anything like that, the S&P 500, anything like that, those combination stocks.
Oh,
But
like index funds you're talking about?
Yeah, index funds. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. I think leveraging your land knowledge and then combining that with depreciating assets that can help out with your tax bill is the best thing to do. But like I said, we're not financial advisors or CPAs.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.